Story 1. Being poor means you can't afford basic health care, basic dental care, or basic decent necessities, and your health pays the price for it. Not going to the dentist can kill you. Not being able to afford medication can kill you. Not being able to afford a day off to rest when you're feeling bad can also be detrimental. Being broke doesn't just suck because you can't do fun stuff. Being broke sucks because you have to choose between your health and your immediate well-being. Hard work alone won't lift you out of that deadly negative cycle. Story 2. Grapefruit in combination with many prescription drugs can affect the way your medications work. With some medications, adding grapefruit disrupts the way your body metabolizes the drug, so you end up with far more than the prescribed dosage. It can also work in the opposite way with other drugs, leaving you with less than the prescribed dosage. This is especially bad if you have high blood pressure or arrhythmia. This article on the Food and Drug Administration site explains it way better. Story 3. Quit drinking. I've been an emergency medical technician for a while and work with a lot of the homeless population. We get calls for people who decided today is the day to finally quit drinking and do it cold turkey. As soon as the next morning, people can present with delirium tremens. Severe withdrawals can induce seizures and can also lead to death. A lot of these people think because they quit hard drugs like heroin or methamphetamine cold turkey, alcohol would be the same without knowing the major effects it can have on your health. Edit. I guess I should add this is only for people with alcohol dependency and not all your casual or even heavier drinkers. Story 4. Not sure if it's been said, but untreated sleep apnea can cause you to literally stop breathing and get little quality sleep. The stress on your cardiovascular system is immense. Get tested. Then wear the continuous positive airway pressure machine no matter how unsexy it is, or consider surgery to eliminate or reduce the problem. Story 5. A Brazilian butt lift gives people a figure reminiscent of the Kardashians and is hugely popular for getting that Instagram body. But a paper in the Aesthetic Surgery Journal found that 1 in 3,000 Brazilian butt lifts resulted in death, making it the world's most dangerous cosmetic procedure. Story 6. Penile fracture. If this happens to you, do not hesitate to get medical help. 12 weeks ago, this happened to me. The tissue that fills with blood and makes the penis erect can fracture when impacted awkwardly. It bent at a 45-degree angle, resulting in a huge hematoma and swelling. I went to the emergency department, and after the poor student doctor saw it, I was rushed into the hospital. I was informed that if it wasn't surgically fixed, it could mean necrosis and removal. The surgical procedure involved degloving the penis, removing the hematoma, stitching up the fractured tissue under the skin, and then stitching the skin back on. I am still having nerve pain, not to mention the effect it's had on our sex life. Story 7. Testicular torsion. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. In all honesty, the embarrassment is all in your head. Doctors and nurses really don't care and aren't judging you one bit. They have seen everything and then some more, but they will judge you if you make the foolish decision not to seek help because of made-up embarrassment and lose your testicles. The pain might not be severe, but you have a few hours at most before your testicles die. Edit. To put some numbers to this, if you wait longer than 6 hours, permanent damage may occur. After 12 hours, there's a 75% chance of losing the testicle. Story 8. Weirs. It's amazing how many people play around them or swim just upstream of them. Almost no one knows the bottom of them is a death trap of rotating undercurrent, and almost no one knows how to escape one if you do get stuck in it. Even if you do know how to get out, you'll have a difficult time of it. If a child gets stuck in one, they are as good as dead, as is anyone who goes in to save them. Very few actually have warnings around them. If you unluckily get trapped in one, try to swim down to the bottom and swim or claw your way downstream along the bottom for a while, and then swim up to the surface. They are called low-head dams or run-of-the-river dams in some parts of the world. Sometimes warning signs for them will just say dam. Keep in mind this danger is present anytime water is flowing shallow and fast over the top of something into deeper water at an angle. Even a large rock or a fallen tree that has water running over it can create the same underwater trap. Story 9. Holding your breath while scuba diving. To most people who do not scuba dive, it may sound harmless, but if you hold your breath and ascend even a little over a meter, You can suffer major lung damage as a result of the gas in your lungs expanding from the lessening pressure. Story 10. Oleandernarium. In fact, it is one of the most common ornamental plants in Southern California, planted in people's backyards and along freeways. The only problem is it is one of the most poisonous plants in the world. Toxic compounds include nereicide, oleandrosid, and saponins. Story 11. Going for runs on the roads at night without wearing lights or reflectors. Often, people even wear black. They think that just because they can see the car can see them. It only takes one accident to change someone's life completely. Story 12. Smoke. It's not only the fire that can kill you, and there is a very good reason you're taught to stay low escaping a fire. The smoke is a hot gas layer that can severely harm you. A working smoke alarm is the single most effective fire safety tool you can have. Early warning will save your life. Most fatal fires happen in the middle of the night when families are asleep. The difference between life and death is only minutes apart. If you have smoke alarms in your house, make sure they are on every level and test them regularly. If you haven't done so in a while, do it now. If you don't have smoke alarms on every level of your home, go out and buy them. Your life is worth the money. Story 13. People seem to have this idea that a few drops of Visine in someone's drink will give them diarrhea, and do it to prank each other or get some sort of satisfaction with petty revenge. People are sitting in prison for murder for doing this. The main active ingredient is called tetrahydrozoline. Once it enters your gastrointestinal tract, it can be absorbed by your intestines and end up in your blood, causing your blood pressure and heart rate to drop to potentially life-threatening levels. It really makes me wonder how many people have died due to people copying that scene in Wedding Crashers. Story 14. Digging and playing in holes on the beach, like I used to love to do as a kid, can be dangerous. They cave in and smother kids. Story 15. Throwing a single punch. Here in Australia, it's been criminalized because fights in pubs and clubs are pretty common. The single punch isn't what causes injury, but falling to the ground and hitting their head on the curb can kill, especially since drunk people usually don't have the capacity to soften their fall. Think twice before you risk losing or taking a life over losing your pride for a night. Story 16. Engulfment and confined spaces. With confined spaces, people usually don't realize that oxygen runs out rather quickly. Engulfment occurs because people probably don't think about essentially drowning in non-liquids. Story 17. Acetaminophen is rough on your liver in large doses. I know a lot of people who ignore the recommended dose and take them like they are candy for pain. This is incredibly dangerous. Story 18. Eating a slug. Obviously, it's nasty, but kids do stupid things as dares or even in hazing rituals. Slugs contain parasites that will get into your brain and kill you slowly. Story 19. Posted safety precautions. When there are signs saying something, many ignore thinking they know better. I used to work in information technology for a place that makes big tractors. Different stations are restricted from using certain personal protective equipment. One day, this lady was wearing the wrong gloves. Her station is only supposed to use latex gloves. She didn't take that seriously and wore thicker reinforced gloves. She was using the lug nut machine that tightens 12 giant lugs at once. Her glove got caught, and instead of ripping the fingertip off her latex glove, it ripped her thumb right off her hand. I witnessed it, and her mistake haunts me to this day. They had to restrain her while two men held her hand up in the air away from her. Her wails and screams were terrifying, all because she ignored a well-placed warning. Story 20. Vacation. Particularly in nature, if you're not used to being in nature. There's a book called Death in Yellowstone that talks about all the weird ways people have died there. Walking off cliffs, falling trees, falling into boiling water. There are the obvious wildlife attacks, but there are plenty of less obvious ways too. The thing is, people are relaxing for once on vacation, and they put themselves in different environments than they're used to. They have their guards down. Story 21. Lack of sleep. Increased risk of basically everything you can think of, not to mention that accidents are far more common when you are tired. The less sleep you get, the shorter your lifespan. Story 22. Tylenol. It's actually a lot easier to overdose on than most people realize, and it slowly destroys your liver over a period of days. Not a fun way to die, to put it lightly. Story 23. Real black licorice root extract contains the natural sweetener glycyrrhizin, which is over 50 times sweeter than sucrose. This ingredient has various pharmaceutical properties. It acts as an expectorant, facilitating the removal of mucus from the lungs by coughing, and it increases blood pressure. The latter effect can become significant with a daily consumption of 50 grams or more of licorice candy for as little as 2 weeks. Glycyrrhizin can cause potassium levels in the body to fall, triggering abnormal heart rhythms, as well as high blood pressure, edema, lethargy, and congestive heart failure in some people. Story 24. Just want to share a story here. I am a dentist. I have a colleague who had a patient that needed a root canal. The patient postponed it as he had a vacation coming up. He was going to Alaska in remote areas to go hunting by himself. Now, Alaska's remote areas mean you are alone. He was dropped off and his ride wasn't scheduled to return for a week or two. After his ride left, the tooth that needed the root canal started causing severe pain, and he was all alone with no one to help him in the middle of nowhere. This was in the mid to late 1990s, so there was no cell phone either. When his ride came back to pick him up, they found a dead body. The man had killed himself. He couldn't take the pain anymore. The pain was so severe that he couldn't wait the 1 or 2 weeks for his ride to return. He shot himself and left a suicide note telling his story. Moral of the story: don't put this off. There is no pain like tooth pain. Story 25. Exploring abandoned places. When I was a kid, I would do it all the time and take photos without any form of facial protection. Fast forward years later, and I learn about how toxic certain molds can be, and how many older buildings used materials like asbestos, which can be in the air when places are left to rot. At this point, I just thank God I never had to deal with the aftermath of any of that. Also, to anyone who enjoys doing this, I get it. I just want to bring awareness to the fact that if you participate, a respirator and goggles should be a must. Also, as a side note, be wary of scrappers and individuals looking for a place to do drugs. I had a run-in like that during one of the last excursions I made, and it's not fun. Story 26. Insulin. Looking at drops on a table, you can barely tell the difference between the therapeutic dose and a lethal one. Edit. If anyone can find the actual image of 2 doses of insulin on a table, I would really appreciate it. I was going to post the link for reference, but I could not find it. Story 27. Touch screen consoles in cars. Mazda now disables touch functionality in their vehicles because they found that when drivers interact with the touchscreen, they drift the vehicle to the right. Taking your eyes off the road to press 3 buttons in different positions on the touchscreen, with a delay each time you press a button because your seat heaters are literally uncomfortable, while trying to maintain control of the vehicle during freeway traffic, is extremely dangerous. Story 28. Quitting antidepressants abruptly after regular use. I stopped taking Prozac and olanzapine abruptly. Right now, I am tapering Lexapro escitalopram from 20 milligrams to 2.5 milligrams. The worst withdrawal experience of all time goes to benzodiazepines and pregabalin, Lyrica. I always took clonazepam. Stopping these medicines suddenly 99% of the time causes seizures. I experienced that too, but I'm already epileptic, so more seizures, yay. Thank you for the support. To those saying taking antidepressants in the first place is bad for you, it's not. They saved my life. I didn't know I had depression, but I stopped eating and had extreme stomach issues, gas, acid reflux, etc. I lost 15 kilograms in 30 days and stopped eating altogether. I consulted 5 gastroenterologists and had many tests like endoscopy, colonoscopy, liver function, blood tests, and stool tests. Everything was normal. I suffered for a whole year and was close to death. Then I was recommended a psychiatrist and she told me I have somatization. The medications started working from day 1. I felt happy and started to eat. I gained all that weight back in 1 month. That rapid weight loss and gain felt like a Christian Bale transformation. Haha. Story 29. It's easy to think windows are more secure than they actually are, which is especially dangerous in taller buildings. Falling through a broken window has a very high risk of a major laceration. Broken glass on the floor can again injure you severely, and on certain surfaces, It's really hard to spot even moderately sized razor-sharp pieces. Tip for those living in earthquake-prone areas. Keep a pair of slippers or sandals by your bedside. If there is an earthquake during the night, the chances are you will have picture frames that fell and shattered around your home, and you should have something hard-soled to walk on in that situation. Be a thoughtful human. If you break something made from glass, don't just toss the broken glass. Put it into a cardboard box, tape it so it's sealed, and write broken glass on the box. My parents use layers of newspaper and tape it up. You have no idea who might handle the bag with your rubbish. Story 30. Deer. Over 120 people a year die from deer directly, and another 175 to 200 from car accidents caused by deer, with some 10,000 injuries. Additionally, there are more deaths and injuries related to deer hunting. By the way, deer are pretty mean and terrible parents. I have seen a deer push her fawn ahead of her near the food to see if there is a predator. Then, if the fawn is okay, she goes out and hits the fawn to get at the food herself.